Good evening, guys. Good evening. Welcome to Landscaping to the Point. We are live, pretty much hopefully everywhere right now. So I have my hosts underneath me, Josh and JC, way at the bottom. What's up, guys? Good evening. Good evening. We are live again. This is Landscaping to the Point. Hope everybody's had a great week. I just got back from Chicago a couple days ago and got to see some new equipment and play with some new equipment over at Echo. So that was awesome time. What's it been like with you guys, Josh and JC?
First day of fall, man.
Oh
Leaves are
yeah,
falling.
yeah. I can't wait. We just got rain today, so this is a big break. We got rain today, and we got rain tomorrow and Tuesday, I think it is. So that's a plus that we're gonna have some rain. So
Yeah. The
yeah,
rain's bringing down the leaves too, and the wind.
yes, yes, they do. I can't wait for that. But like you said, first day of fall, it's going to be an awesome fall right now. There's some real good things we want to talk about today, and a lot of them are all the stuff that's coming around anymore with leaf blowers and just the whole issues with gas and battery powered and some things getting going on. So that's why the topic's called I don't know. So it's more of like what's going to happen from here on out. It's more of like what it is. So one of the products that I got to see over at Echo was a couple the new battery backpacks, and to me, I'm still on the fence about battery backpacks, especially backpack blowers. They're one of the things that I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know about you guys. I mean, they're just the runtime on a lot of the battery stuff is just not there. And so one of them was a 7700 backpack blower. Price point's pretty high, about $1,600, but you get three 8 amp hour batteries, and it only max out runtime of going at high speed is 30 minutes. So if you got a lot of jobs with a lot of leaves, how many batteries are you going to need for a day? I know I got a couple jobs that take about 6 to 8 hours, and you're running them blowers for at least 5 to 6, if not more. So, and if I'm going through 5 tanks of gas, how many batteries am I going to need for that whole day? Am I going to need 25 batteries? That's a lot of batteries for just to do one day. What's your guys' thoughts on them?
I like to think of the battery market as a whole. And it's interesting because different places in the country deal with different types of needs for leaf blowers, right? So
Right.
you got your northeast, you get your majority of your heavier wet leaves, and in some places the season's a little different. And then like even the uses, right? Like a lot of landscapers use the leaf blowers to blow the grass clippings, back into the yard. So different sizes, different strengths of leaf blowers are all dependent. But um, I don't know, man. I always look at it from a perspective of it being more geared for the homeowner with a smaller property than a landscape business. Um, Especially, Josh will tell you from where we're at, right now the leaves are coming down really substantially, and the rain mixed all that together. And for us, a battery powered leaf blower wouldn't do us any good. Scott, I can't
You're on
hear you. I
mute.
don't know if it's me. Oh, there you are. All right, you're good now, man.
You guys are more wet during the spring and the fall, aren't you guys? So then that's kind of hard to blow all those leaves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh likes that. He likes it when it's wet,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
the leaves. So.
Wet and messy.
So, it would batteries just not there, correct, for that kind of type of application yet?
I don't
I
know,
don't
man.
see how it could get there. To be honest with you, like I'm Jensen's JC's 100% on the mark with that. Where like the Northeast isn't really the area for electric powered like backpack blowers or maybe like hedge trimmers or something. But with blowers, it's it, I, I don't think it could withstand what we have. Like you said, we went about a month with no rain, and it rained, last night and today for the first time. and it dropped a lot of the maple leaves are already turning. You know, like a lot of the sunset maples and orange maples are turning down, and I just don't think it would withstand that. And I don't think the price point's there and the run time's there. You know, so I don't know. I know in certain parts of like Massachusetts, there's a lot of restrictions. You know, this is kind of the birthplace of, you know, the gas powered restrictions on landscapers. But even those towns, like we were just talking, you know, before we logged on, you can get a permit, you know, because people aren't going to pay the price that you need to, you know, charge to cover your overhead cost of having electric equipment like that and battery stations, charging stations and such. So,
I mean, my main thing is how would you go about and charge it while you're out in the field? I mean, you know, a lot of them come with rapid chargers, but still that's an hour charging. So literally, what are you going to do? Hook it up into your truck. You know, some of the trucks have, you know, auxiliary power. You can hook it up that way, but you're going to run your truck at a job nonstop to charge your battery, you know? And at that point, you still have to have a couple batteries so where you're constantly charging. And if your charge time's 30 minutes, you know, then what are we talking? Like we're still having a truck run for, you know, a couple hours while we're charging it. So,
dude, I don't know the mindset that I get, right? When it comes to battery, landscapers should want to be all right. Landscapers should want to gravitate towards it and not feel that they're forced to have to take towards it, right? Like a lot of landscape companies that fall under state restrictions, you know, they eventually have to transition over to battery, and their hands forced, you know,
right.
Well, whereas if there was no restrictions and they had a better choice, and like, you know what, we want to try battery powered equipment. Like it has to be enticing for them and not feel like it's pushed down their throats.
Right. But like Josh said, your area is the birthplace of restrictions. So is there any other restrictions that are going on that's going to affect landscapers down the road, do you think?
I mean, there's plenty. They're not going to stop. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Right.
We were just talking backstage with diesel trucks in Massachusetts. You know, if you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you'll see a few months ago, I posted something from one of the diesel dealers over here where they were trying to get people to come out and vote on the last local election a few weeks ago, because it was a question on the ballot. And I'll read what I have from Only in Boston, posted on Instagram. It says, as of January 1st, 2025, Massachusetts will adopt the carb low NOx omnibus rule, which means that commercial truck dealers will not be allowed to sell or lease a diesel truck built after 12/31/24 to a customer that plans to register in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in 2025. So what that means, if you run diesel trucks for your plowing equipment, for transportation, food, retail, consumer goods, etc., and you flip your trucks over every few years, you're not going to be able to register that truck. You know, so you can't sell them in Massachusetts. You're not going to be able to register in Massachusetts. So you're going to have a major issue there. And I'm sure that's going to have a turnover after the new year. And I'm sure it's going to come with loopholes where you're going to have to pay a hefty fucking fine to get a diesel truck. You know, and that's not just big Mack trucks. Those are F-350s, F-250s, Power Strokes, Cummings, you know. So it's going to hit a lot of people.
Yeah, it's crazy, though, because they're making these laws and bans prior to the technology being there.
Right.
Yeah, well, the state has been playing around with electric dump trucks, which I don't get how that's going to work, because I mean our DOT goes out with these dump trucks for, you know, let's call them 10-hour shifts. Like, how long can a fucking dump truck run with a plow attached to it, a wing plow attached to it at that point, and everything else? Electric sanders, like that, there's no way. Like you'd be, I can't imagine the trade-off for, like, you know, the amount of time you'd spend charging stuff and taking off. You never have anything plowed. I just don't think the electric's there in any facet. Maybe, you know, solar for your home, and I'm kind of ignorant to that. But I mean, I think maybe, like, you know, some hedge trimmers it might be good for, you know, a Prius where someone's going back and forth and can plug in when they go to work. But on the construction and landscape aspect and snow plowing aspect, Absolutely no way. Would you want to be
Right.
running a snowblower on a commercial lot with batteries installed in it on a heavy, wet cement, concrete snow? Absolutely not. It would die. You got to remember the more restriction you have on that current flow, it's going to kill that battery.
Right. Well, just think about the salt on it. Don't the salt's going to eat it away. I mean, there's proven facts that the salts are, from like down in Florida are affecting a lot of those Teslas. So don't you think that eventually that salt's going to affect, one of those snow plows trucks that with, the battery, and they're going to have the same effect where they're going to catch on fire when you're out there plowing.
Yeah. And
I
my thing
mean,
is too, like, can you not? I don't think you can. Like, the biggest issue is you can't recycle these batteries in cars or equipment, and now you're gonna have a fucking landfill full of like lithium batteries,
right.
in like 150 years. Like, it's crazy.
Right. Right. And think about the cost of like if you have to replace a Tesla battery. I mean, it's from what I've heard, it's like 3 on up. So I mean, you're talking you put it in
Oh,
one of
yeah.
those big diesel trucks. I mean, you're talking that's going to be like what 5-6 grand for a battery on those. I
Last
mean,
I checked, it was like 10 grand for a Tesla battery after
Yeah,
10
I was gonna
years.
say, dude, a triaxle or even like a small 6-wheel dump truck. Yeah, I mean, you got to be talking an excessive amount. And again, when you're a triaxle and you're holding 20 tons, 18 tons of material, that's a load. That's
yeah,
an added load, just like you would do to any battery powered equipment. The harder the load, the more the battery is going to work, the faster it'll die. So
right.
that might work in somewhere like Texas or Phoenix or something like that. I don't even think it would work there, but I don't know.
There
I just
was
don't think
there was a news article that I read, and it was talking about like battery operated vehicles on the West Coast, and how more people are feeling like they have to buy an electric vehicle, and a lot of restrictions are being placed, and people are buying them. But the system for the charging isn't there yet. We have a
Right.
gas station every corner. They don't have those electrical charging stations everywhere, every corner as well. And what that has caused was a lot of demand for people to trying to charge their cars, a lot of fights breaking out at these charging stations. And then what they've been doing is they've been increasing the rates of the charges to try to deter people from packing the charging stations, so the cause
Jeez.
less chaos. So it's just been all over the place. But I
yeah,
don't know,
it
man.
doesn't.
Battery should be an option, not a replacement.
Right.
uh,
So do you feel like there's going to be a rush to buy all the diesel trucks before that?
No, I think that people are going to put their foot down, and what's going to suck is now the used market's going to inflate.
Right.
So we had a giant. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have been on Facebook Marketplace in the past 5 years. When COVID hit, the cost of like a 1997 F350 was close to like $20,000 for a $5,000 truck at most.
Right.
That's
Right.
like that has slowly the past year and a half started to drop. But I think what's going to happen once that restriction comes into play, and again, I got to read the bill on it, or at least the clip notes of the bill. But I think that's going to affect the used car market, and it's going to go through the roof.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, it'll affect it. I know it will. I mean, that's gonna be the hardest part. Is that it's gonna change a lot out there.
I
But
think you're gonna scare transportation companies from doing business in Massachusetts. I think they're all gonna start moving outside. They'll go up to Maine, New Hampshire. It already costs an arm and a leg to keep things registered here. We
right,
gotta re-register every single year. So
right,
we pay registration fees every year. Where some states they pay every 2-3 years, like commercial plates here, like regular plates here. But we pay every single year on trucks, trailers, everything. So between the taxes we're paying on the excise taxes, the registration fees, all the bullshit depreciation fees that you pay on, the cost of doing business for like a trucking company. And I'm using trucking company because I feel like that's who it's going to affect more. A landscape company can pivot and go to a gas job or buy a pre-owned or some sort. Some of these companies that are putting hundreds of thousand miles a year on a big Mack truck or international, that's going to hurt them, and that's going to cause the prices of everything to rise.
right,
Isn't
right.
that common sense amongst three guys on a podcast right now to realize how detrimental this could be?
Yeah,
And
Oh
we
yeah,
have experts and smart people in as elected officials that don't even see this.
They probably do and don't give a fuck, and I think that's the idea. So I'll tell you right now, if you've been to like Jensen, like Scott, I know obviously you haven't, but if you've been to like Boston and Cambridge, the way that it's set up, they're essentially trying to set up so in the city, in the next like 10, 15 years, you won't be able to drive in the city. Like they're talking about putting a toll to get into the city now. So they're trying to avoid having as many cars go into Boston and Cambridge or Somerville as possible. And that's slowly going to start making its way out to, Metro West, down South Shore, North Shore. And eventually Mass is going to try to turn a lot of stuff into, low emission vehicles on the electric standpoint. They did it when Obama was in office, the cash for clunkers. I don't know if you guys remember that, where they would give you they were giving you up to like $3,000 trade-in value to get rid of some of the older cars. And I mean, whatever, boosted the economy, helped scrap metal, but I think that screwed a lot of people,
Right.
And I kind of see this is the same idea. And I was in automotive back then, I didn't like it. And I don't like this. I think this is going to affect everybody in the negative. I think the push on the construction side, where it started here, or the landscape side where it started here, where now you get to get a permit to do fucking leaf cleanups. Like, come on, man.
Dude, that clash for clunkers, I can't say that fast. Clash for clunkers. That ended the $500, $1,000 beater truck you could buy.
Right.
Yeah.
And that sucked because like even myself at the time, I relied on cars like that, little strip box throwaway cars. So now you'd have some sort of like, 96 Nissan that you could get for $1,000. Now it's $4,000 for a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Because everybody would trade it, and then that got rid of the market for those cheap cars that you could buy off of people.
Like look at it now. You're gonna see the Power Strokes, and Power Strokes already kind of have a high label, a high price tag on them used. I think you're gonna see when this starts in Massachusetts. I think when people start understanding the bill, if it's how I understand it, if it's formatted how I structured how I understand it, I think you're gonna see like, that pre-admissions, pre-def system, Cummings and Power Stroke. I think you're gonna see those prices increase by like 30 or 40%, if not more.
Right. So over on Instagram, Brightstone's on there, and he's from Orlando area in Florida or whatever. He said it's frustrating that they just got a bill too, saying that there's no one of the cities that by him you can't have a gas blower in as of January next year. But he's like, he can't tell who's going to get the fine for not following it. Is it going to be the homeowner or is it going to be the company? And that's where I feel like, how are they going to enforce this? I mean, we already have a lot of problems with enforcing this type of stuff. Is there going to be, like in your area, is there going to be a guy that's going to go around and go to companies and say, did you didn't register your vehicle or you can't have this vehicle? Same with the gas blowers and stuff. Who's going around enforcing this law and, giving the fines out for it?
Brookline, Mass, where this whole fucking ordeal started. They asked the residents of Brookline asked the Brookline Police Department to enforce this. I don't think the Brookline Police got other shit to do, But if enough people are calling and complaining, they gotta respond to the calls. And I think at first, like there were cops that were showing up and caught on camera. They were picking up the rakes and helping the landscapers rake up the pile of leaves, and the people got pissed at that. And then they eventually do have to start writing tickets for it because it keeps going, and then they keep on extending the bill or restructuring the bill. And again, it's like, are you able to say how much those blowers are going for?
Yeah, I mean the backpack blowers are going for. They came out with 2 new battery backpack. One is $12.99, and the other one's $15.99. So you're talking
the cost of 2 gas blowers for an electric blower. And you still have to watch out for the sound decimal when you use that, because that's one of the biggest things is the sound decimal in the blower. So you could buy a cheap blower, electric blower, but it still has that sound decimal. If you get some prick cop that comes up to you, or who knows, some of these municipalities might hire someone to go. They might hire inspectional services to go out and enforce these rules. And I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with an inspector. They can be dicks. Right. And they come out with a sound meter, and then you get a fine.
You're almost better off. You're almost better off using gas powered blowers and then paying the fine. It'd still be cheaper
honestly.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, it's like what and And it's like, what's the fines going to be? That's the main thing. And a lot of times that you wonder what, I'd like to talk to somebody from California because they had that big ban already on stuff, but a lot of it's there's so many people that rush to get gas powered and they can still use gas power right now. Just they can't buy no more electric. They got to buy electric now.
Simple solution. Don't do leaf cleanups.
Yeah.
Dude, this thing out here, this blower thing started as a noise ordinance. It started from some old bag that got mad because someone was fucking 5 guys were out for half an hour with 5 Red Max blowing leaves, and she couldn't read her fucking book on her fucking sun porch in her fucking $1.5 million Brookline house, and got pissed and got enough. Dude, it was all over the news. I'm gonna see if I can find the clip and post it on Instagram tonight. But it was all over.
It's funny. You're right. I saw that same exact article. And my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. The lady called she called the local news station. She was all over social media with it. And then it became a thing where people were like, yeah, we and I get it. Like, you pay an arm and a leg to live on those areas. These are very affluent areas in the outskirts of Boston. But it's a leaf blower. And it's not like it's happening all the time. They cuddle on, they show up, they cuddle on, and twice a year they show up with a crew with the 2 backpack blowers. It's not going to kill you. I've had them in one of my other in the town I lived in before here. And yeah, it's annoying, and I work with it. And when they would show up next door to do the cleanups, it would be annoying. But it's like, listen, it's just a few minutes of your life, and I think it's crazy because it's going to affect everybody. And that's what Brookline said. Brookline said, okay, you want us to do landscapers out there? There was one in particular. Maybe if I can find him, I can't remember his name. We can have him come on, because he was actually leading the protest against it and trying to get landscapers to show up at Brookline Town Hall and say, hey, this is why we can't have this, and trying to sign petitions. And, they were basically saying, hey, you want us to do it with rakes? Okay, so your $500 leaf cleanup's now going to be $2,500.
Right. Well, that's what it's going to do. I mean, it's going to force us as consumers, if we have to push, to go out and buy commercial grade battery backpacks, where I'm gonna have to do that for $1,600. I'm definitely, my price on a cleanup's gonna go way up if you think about it, because like we said before, a lot of crews will go out and buy 2-3 of them every season. So you're talking $4,000, $5,000 on new battery blowers every year.
For something you're only getting 30-40 minutes at a time at, and you're going to have to invest in the batteries on top of that. So if you're paying $1,500, I'm assuming that those batteries are probably going to run you a couple $100, and then on top of that, the charge stations, which are probably about $1.50, and then you still have to build the infrastructure in your trailer to fucking charge the thing.
Well, one thing they are coming out with too is they're coming out with a box that can charge up to 6 batteries at one time, which will help with that helping charging. But still, you're talking to get into something that right now, to get into battery for a bunch of blowers, that charging port, your weed whips and all that, you're going to spend probably $10,000. That's not even including the mower if you have to go into one of these cities like that and do this.
How are you charging that with your truck anyways? Are you using a generator?
You'd have to use a
generator or solar. You'd have to put a solar panel on the roof of your trailer.
I think a simple solution, man, is just let the residents feel the effects of not having their leaves cleaned up, and then they'll be singing a different tune.
Yeah.
But Jensen, what's funny what you just said? You're using a generator for probably 2 hours to charge fucking electric batteries. So using a gas generator to charge electric batteries to be within an ordinance, so you don't get fined for using gas blowers. Fucking stupid.
Right. I think I seen there was somewhere on.
There's companies, and they've been on here. They've come on here like Outdoor Pride and a couple of the medium and large companies that do commercial campuses. I think they're playing around with commercial zero-turn mowers right now. So those are battery-powered, zero-turn, ride-on, sit-on mowers. So you can imagine that if, what did mine cost me? Am I right? Like almost $18,000 or something like that with the bagging system. Those things would probably be up to like $30,000, and then the battery life. So,
hey, here's an idea. Start a business that buys batteries, constantly recharge them, and rents those batteries out.
That could be interesting.
We'll replenish your batteries right on the spot. But
just I see the whole helping thing for the environment, for the batteries. But don't you think that's going to make the power plants eventually bust? Because think about it, we're already having issues when it gets hot where it hurts our power grid. I mean, think about how many power batteries you're going to have to charge. I mean, I already got like 6 or 8, Echo batteries in my thing where I got to have a separate, fuse to run, and line to run just charging. So think about having, a company that's going to have like, the battery mower, the battery backpacks, the battery, all this. Your electric bill is going to be $1,000 a month, if not more.
My worry with this is like Jensen had mentioned earlier, it seems like they're forcing your hand. And how long before this goes from just like landscape to like your home and your household? And then I think of like the longevity of this, of like, again, we mentioned, you can't recycle these batteries. So now you need to find places for landfills. What's going to happen long term with power plants, gas, oil, and all that stuff? That's not going to affect us. We're not going to see the outcome of that, but our kids and our grandkids are going to have to deal with that shit. So you think longevity, like what's the game plan, 50, 60 years from now with all this crap,
Why do you think they're pushing solar panels so much to everybody out there? They want everybody to have solar panels. Now, the problem with the solar panels is one of the things that I learned recently is that when you buy solar panels, or at least solar panels, however that you do it, when you sell back the energy that you generate, you're selling it back to a third party power provider. So what happens is when you sign the contract for those solar panels, you're making an agreement with a third party energy provider, and the rates for kilowatts for that third party energy provider is higher than what the national grid or your electric company would be. So when you sell it back, you're not getting much back in return, because you're not getting so much more energy from those panels than you're actually utilizing, because you're spending so much on it that per kilowatt. I know I kind of butchered that a little bit, but in essence, it doesn't really even out for you. Right. And there's a lot of things you have to consider when it comes to like the panels. The weight on your roof. If you have an older roof, you got to reinforce it. Hazardous waste product after 20 years, you got to dispose of it properly. If you get a new roof, you have to take the whole thing down. But they're trying to push incentives for those solar panels because they want everybody to go to solar and battery, and as opposed to everything else.
I can see this, the thing of solar, but also again, if you're selling it back to somebody else and then they're making a cut on it, and you're not making that much back in return, it's not a benefit really in the long run.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the only place that I use the battery power and I prefer is my hand tools, my impact guns, my cutoff wheels. I don't even, my demo saws are gas. They always will be gas. I don't believe that the power's there for them. It's not efficient enough for me. But as far as like, if I'm working on, one of my trucks or a plow, I like to be able to pull out like, battery powered air ratchet or impact wrench, rather than I can have to drive around with a generator and a compressor. So I mean that, and again, those are things I'm not using every single day. As a mechanic, even back then, it wasn't there yet. And you're going back 10 plus years when I was a mechanic. Right. And it wasn't there yet because the price point wasn't there yet, because it was so new and things would run out. The batteries were about the size of my fucking hat, so you couldn't get into like normal places. It was the impact guns where it kind of came away, and you could get away with those. That was cool, but I think hand tools would probably be as far as I go with that. I'm not a believer in solar panels for the roof. I do believe in like smaller aspects of things, maybe charging up a small lighting system outside, things like that, where it's feasible. Go to Harbor Freight and grab a little, generator pad for a solar panel pad on my dog's roof,
For camping.
Yeah.
I'm not going to see that. I mean, we use battery a lot more for pruning this year than we have gas. And I see the benefits for that. But when it comes to mowing, I don't see the benefits are not there yet. The batteries are not at that stage to where it's going to benefit you in the long run, to where you're saving time, you're saving gas. like you said, if you're running at full power, you're going through that battery fast, and the whole point of having to charge it and carry all them batteries and all that, I don't see the benefits still yet.
But let's play devil's advocate. For the homeowner in a certain setting, it could be perfect,
Right.
And I know the price for that backpack blower, $1,600, $1,500, whatever it is. The way that the selling point to that could be to the homeowner that could utilize it, that has a smaller property. You're kind of paying for the fuel up front,
Right.
as opposed to going out to the gas station and buying, throughout the years. You're paying for that fuel up front when it comes to the battery. If you have an acre or more, I don't think it's going to be beneficial for you, especially in New England.
Right.
But if you have a small property and you like doing yard work, you have some, you don't want to store fuel in your garage or in your shed. You have other pieces of equipment that run off the same thing, then, more power to you. I think that could be a good setting for somebody.
But
See,
I own a small property and I wouldn't do it. And I just think because of timing,
Right.
if I have a thick area of grass around the spring, I just think it's going to die down quicker. I talked to you before. I have a little handheld Ryobi. I love to blow up my paper walkway on my porch. That's about as far as I go with that crap.
Right.
I shouldn't say crap. I just
Right.
again,
Yeah. It's battery.
But Jensen, like
Well,
a selling point on that would be like if I show up to you, I'm familiar with your property, and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm an all-electric company. I believe in getting away from like greenhouse gases and biofuels and all that crap. I'm strictly electric mower, blower, weed whip, all that stuff, truck. It's going to cost $300 to cut your lawn because of that, but you are contributing to a cleaner environment for your children and futures to come." And then Curvin Green rolls up and says, "Hey, I'm going to do it for $70 on my gas guzzling fucking, X-Mark mower and my Echo weed whacker." Who are you going to go to? You're going to go to the cheaper option. Even the most granola motherfucker is going to go with the cheaper option. I swear. I mean, you
Right.
might get a
Right.
few that'll go after it, and say, "Hey, I can do it," but it's not going to be a long term for anybody. Because
No.
I'm telling you, that's your overhead to cover that $1,600 on a backpack blower, tens of thousands of dollars on a mower, another 10 grand on a decent infrastructure for building a charging station for batteries, and then your weed whip, and then the cost of all the batteries. Because guess what? Once you're running through these fucking batteries after a year, they're done. I'm telling you, on a commercial level, they're done. Homeowner, quarter acre, city lot, something like that, real quick, a postage stamp lot, you'll probably have it for the life of your home. Maybe a battery. But as a contractor, I think you're pissing through batteries.
Oh yeah, definitely. Southwest says sometimes in demolition we have to use battery inside buildings. It sucks, but they get away with less production that way.
Yeah, I again, that's somewhere where you can't get away with it. You know what I
Right.
mean? You have to. I understand that.
I mean, we used to have a place that we used to have to take a 21 inch to do a courtyard inside of a building. And that might come into handy with the battery being able to walk through, because I know a lot of places are banning it to where you can't bring that gas equipment through the building to go to that little courtyard. So, I mean, that could work out if you have buildings like that have courtyards that you have to maintain like that, or, so I know there's some buildings in New York that you got to go up to the top for little green spaces and stuff. So I can see, having the battery for there, but.
And again, they're paying for that. Just like
Right.
the guy. Listen, I know here we've done construction, we've cut concrete floors. We've had that issue where we have to keep the silica dust down, and that's fine. That's water suppression, but they don't want the fuel running inside. And come nighttime when we're working, we tell the super, "Hey, we use something electric, or have to do it by hand. It's going to take 3 times as long as if I get a gas iron here. I'm done in an hour." That super 9 times out of 10 is going to be like, "Come in fucking later and take care of that, and rip that gas fucking thing, and just keep a door cracked."
Right. Right. All right. So we all agree that battery is just not there right now, and it's going to take years.
It'll take at least 20 years to get there. Yeah.
I don't think
At
it'll
least
ever
20
get
years. Okay. I can see that. I mean, I think it's going to take time, a lot more research, a lot more putting, the R&D into it to get to the right position, I think, for commercial companies. And then being able to have charging. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the battery time needs to be longer. The charging needs to be faster.
Look, I'm a snow contractor, and I worry about it starting to go into that end because
Right.
I don't see how we can sustain anything. And it's not even the cost of that, because that cost will just get passed along to the client. But it's the productivity and the efficiency that you can knock out with that. Because like you have production rates based off what you're using. If you're having to stop and charge things nonstop, again, concrete, wet snow, it's going to become an issue.
Right. So what about, I think Bobcat has it, is they have to where you can control your Bobcat from an app on your phone. Would you move into that for snow removal, or would you just keep with jumping in the skid steer and moving it around that way?
I think it'd be fun to play with. You know, I'd rather have an operator there, but I've always thought that was kind of cool. You know, that
Yeah.
shit we're like going in. But I think that's gonna come out to more like almost like a staffing agency with stuff like that, where like maybe you're a company, you know, you're let's say you're a site company and you don't want to have to staff or you can't staff, or you hire a company that just brings that equipment, drop shits that equipment, and from somewhere in Utah, they're running skid steers and loaders in Massachusetts with no one in them. And all you
Right.
have to do is, you know, you're basically marking that up and just paying the bill from them. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it will work out good. I mean, I think there's certain things that they're adding on to stuff that is going to eventually benefit us. Even like right with having those mowers to where they can just drop them off at a site and map it all out and have it mow for you, to where you just weed whipping and less people.
I was thinking about that in bed last night actually, and like kind of somewhere where like, you know, automation's taking away jobs. And I was reading something about how, you know, in 15 years, like the job market's going to drop worse than it is now. And you think of shit like that, and that worries me, where you see these campuses, commercial campuses, starting to play with that stuff. And it's like in the long run, I think people now, you think, that shit'll never happen. How much
Right.
shit you said in society can never happen that fucking happened.
Right.
And that can happen where now you can have these automated bots running your shit, or have someone that can literally drone a fucking mower in, cut a campus and move it around, you know, and undercut you. Like it's crazy how like it's great for an owner, but as far as someone that makes a career in lawn care, landscape, that sucks. And I think that could happen. I honestly do.
Right. But I mean, I could see it if you were a solar operator and had a lot of bigger properties. I mean, having one of those mowers and being able to just go place to place, you're going to save on, ability of having to get more employees. If you just
I don't think a
concentrate
solo
on-
operator would be able to handle the upfront costs in that.
Yeah.
I don't. That's the thing. I think you're going to be priced out.
I mean, yeah, he probably could. I mean, it'd just be, like $1,000 a month for, the rest of his life. So, I mean, he'd have to be in business for a long time.
No.
Yeah, startup's going to be tough.
That's the same way with going with battery anymore. If you're going to go with the battery, I mean, and you want to do all battery, I mean, like you said, Josh, I mean, the infrastructure's at least, 40, 50 grand probably just to get to the startup just for small equipment, not including trucks,
That's what I mean. Look, personally for me, I told you, smaller 9-inch demo saws, or angle grinders, whatever you want to call them, and hand tools. I don't mind batteries.
Right.
Other than that, I'm gas, and I probably always will be.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it for a long time. I mean, we use a little bit, but I mean, we're not totally into it, and we're not going to, our weed whips are not going to change yet. And I think blowers won't be changing yet for a while. So, So we're coming towards the end of the season. You said it's fall now. So you guys are getting ready for fall cleanups. Josh, I know you got like a crap load to do this year. So is there new backpacks you're looking at getting for this year?
I know.
Picked up. Well, we picked up the Red Max 8550. I haven't used the Red Max in years because I've been using the Echo blowers. I used a I can't remember the name, Roddy's equipment in Worcester. I picked up the backpack blower. So then they didn't sell the Echo. Originally I was gonna get the Echo, the guys like the Echo, but I think I'm gonna end up switching over to Red Max again. So we're looking into maybe one of the Hurricane stand-on blowers. Not sure. We got something about like 30 commercial cleanups and probably like 10 or 15 residential cleanups, and some of those much bigger than others. But we'll see.
Do you feel the hurricanes or the stand-ups that would be beneficial for your crews?
Yeah, and that's the problem. I'm trying to weigh that out. I'm trying to look at production rates when they're trying to push. Again, like Jensen said earlier, we get wet falls.
Right.
So when it knocks down those oaks and those maple leaves, some of those berms are really hard to push, even with high-end Echo blowers and Red Max blowers and still blow. Well, it still doesn't push shit, but it's hard to push those pile backs. That's where I think the Hurricane could really speed things up. So Hurricane, the last I checked was when I was still doing maintenance. I think they were around 10 grand. They're probably around 12 or 13 right now. And you weigh that out, over the course of 5 years, it's not a bad investment, but it's just seeing, now you gotta run it on a trailer. You gotta bring a trailer down there rather than just some blowers on a dump truck, so that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
My go-to is still the 8010 Echo PB 8010.
Yeah. I mean, we have the 8010s and 9010s. I think, we're looking at getting probably another 9010 probably this year. But yeah, I think, what made you decide to go back to Red Max over Echo, Josh?
Well, it was the I had two 8010s just sitting next to my dumpster in my shop. The motor's blowing them. The 9010s I do like. I'm not a big fan of the price point out here. They are when you can find them. They're around $850. Red Max before Echo came out with the 8010. I was a massive Red Max fan. Nothing could beat Red Max. Red Max had the market cornered. Echo came out with that blower and it kind of, leveled up with Red Max. Availability, man. I mean, they were there. Right. I was a big fan of them before. I stood by them. I had Red Max blowers that were beat to shit, like partially ran over, falling out of the back of trucks, left out in the rain, and they started on a second of their pull, And then I have 8010s that were mixed with the correct ratio of fuel that the engine's blowing them, and they were out of warranty.
Jeez. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah.
I like the 8010 better than the 9010.
Why?
The tube is different. The way it's naturally positioned, like the 9010 kind of makes your elbow kind of go out as opposed to tucked in. Yeah. And over time, if you're using the 9010 in that position, at least with me, it's just a pain in the ass. The 9010 is the 8010 is much better for me.
The one thing the guys, when I told them I was going to start switching things over to Red Max, they were like, "Oh, we got to learn how to use the hip throttle again." They're so used to the trigger. So Red Max is doing handle throttle, so which is pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
I think it is kind of they were complaining something was finicky on the wiring where they're having they didn't feel like it throttled all the way up, and then they bumped the wires and they throttled up. So something there. My issue has been in the Echo Weed Whackers, the 255s that keep blowing up, and I'm getting ready to switch over to Red Max for those because that's getting fucking annoying.
Yeah, I think there's been some issues this year with the SRM 225s. I think I've heard some issues of them leaking a lot of oil, and like the carburetor's going out on them real quick.
And that seems to be the issue. And a couple guys that work for me, they bought them for their own homes, small lots, a little over, between a quarter and half an acre. And same thing, they're dying out. And that's where I realized, because I was like, oh, maybe we're mixing the fuel wrong. And they said, no, we're mixing the fuel. They're buying the pre-made Echo shit or whatever it is from Home Depot. And they said they're having the same issues. I replaced a couple of them with the 2620s they have at the depot. But that's not the point. The point is those are 350. The SRMs are 250 or 225 to 250. They're at a price point where I like them because they last for a year, and if they ship the bit after a year, that's fine. But I can typically get, on 50 properties, 50 properties weekly, I can usually get a year and a half out of those. Even in the day when I was doing more maintenance.
Right.
I knew I was confidently if they were maintained and taken care of and kept out of the rain, I could get a year and a half out of them. Now, I mean, these things lasted. They were purchased the very end of last year to do a specific retention pond project. They weren't overworked, and they last a total of probably 2 months.
Wow. Yeah. That's not good.
No.
That's not good. No, I agree with you. I think there's a lot. Everybody has their issues with products, different, equipment. So, what I'd like to know out there,
No one
and this is a question for everybody out there that's listening, is what's your blower? What type of blower do you use and why? I think that's a good one that we can touch back on.
PB 8010.
Josh, 8010, yeah. Josh likes his Red Max. I'm my 9010, so I think we got a couple different options here. So let's hear what everybody else has.
I will say, if Red Max and Echo can get that pull cord that still has now, I haven't used it, but man, that thing looks cool. It's a side pull cord, Jensen. I don't know if you've seen it. So you shut the blower off. You don't have to take it off your back. Boom, you just pull it off. You pull it off from behind.
Steel has that on the BR.
Yeah, that's who has it. That's their design, the patent.
I actually used my buddy's 2 weeks ago at one of his jobs. We kind of helped him out with some work, and he had the still with the pull from the back. And I tell you, it's nice, but I mean, his is a little older, so it took at least probably 5 pulls. And when you're pulling backwards, you're like trying to get it to go. It's a little bit more than putting it, taking it off. But I think that is
It's easy to put it on the ground and pull the cord.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing, and if you could do something like that, or just be able to flip the switch, have a battery click on it to where it automatically starts. That would be
cool. Maybe like a little a box attached with like a AA battery just to electric start it or something.
Yeah, just a quick electric start instead of having to get it off. That would be perfect.
You want to ban diesel trucks, but you can't put a battery on a fucking.
We're just talking about batteries in the beginning of the podcast. Now we're talking batteries for our gas-fired products.
Yeah. Hey, if it works, then maybe that might be the way to go.
It's a holy matrimony. You got to merge the battery in the
right.
Yeah.
Get them together. Get them together. It'll make it a lot easier for everybody. But yeah, I get it. So. I think you should definitely look into that, the hurricanes and stuff. Like, there's a whole different bunch of options. I mean, you guys got Ferris up there. I know the Ferris has.
Yeah. So it's I use Hurricane as kind of like when people call skid steers Bobcat. It's Caterpillar.
Right.
I'm just using Hurricane as like the general brand because that's what we know up here. But yeah, we have Ferris, we have Billy Goat, all that crap. So I'll look. I have an idea what the price point is, but again, it's knowing what we can use it for. I know it would help the guys speed up on some of the cleanups in the spring, not to mention the fall. So we'll look into it. And if it's not a fall purchase, it might be a spring purchase. Because right now we got a lot of money we have to put into snow.
Yeah. Snow. Snow will be on us in no time, really, actually, if you think about it. So
we pulled everything out last week.
Yep. Got it all ready, getting it going.
Getting it ready yet. We put orders in for cutting edges, switching over from rubber to steel on the pushers. We got to bring a few more pushers back. Mobile mechanic went out and took care of one of the loaders that we have in trouble. I guess a squirrel or a mouse or something got into the fuel tank, and they ran it low last winter and it gets sucked up into the injection pump, and when they took it off they found like the skeleton and some of the fur or whatever it was. So well, we got all the sanders out. So the sanders we're trying to work on the end of this week and get everything lubed up. I'm going to try the vegetable oil trick that I learned from an old wise Italian man. Just cover them with vegetable oil to get in like the little crevices. So we're going to do that. And then, hopefully,
how much vegetable oil are you going to have to get?
I'll go to BJ's.
He's getting it from P. Diddy's house.
Yeah.
I gotta, no, honestly, no. I'll go to like Costco's or BJ's or something. And I'll probably pick up a case. Not a lot.
You're gonna need more than a case, probably. You're gonna probably need like 5 cases of vegetable oil. You're gonna be walking out with one of those carts, and they're gonna be like, "Sir, you got a lot of vegetable oil."
For the season, but to start, I can get away with a case because what do I have? I have 4 main sanders and then 3 backups. So,
okay, we're good. You let me know exactly how much vegetable oil you buy.
1,000 bottles.
Yeah, 1,000 bottles. Yeah. You're going to buy out BJ's in no time and be going to the regular gas station or something.
Flying in the hallways of his house.
Yeah.
These are for lubricant. These aren't for I'm not running them off of vegetable oil.
we didn't think you were, but I mean,
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, no, these are just.
I mean, you could just go. Why don't you just go to like a old restaurant, like an old Chinese restaurant or something?
because
and
that's
just-
huge. I need clean vegetable oil.
They just run it through a funnel. I mean, can't you run it through a funnel?
Yeah, it's
Doing
gonna
all
smell
that
like
shit, bro.
freaking-
I'm taking a
oil.
gallon of vegetable oil and dumping it into the sander while it's running. I'm not straining veggie oil, dude. I don't want to do all that.
It'd probably be free though, and then your equipment will smell like wontons and egg rolls. See?
Yeah, and the guys won't be able to get anything done. We want to eat the whole time.
Oh yeah, that would be good. I think it would be funny. I'll tell you that much. There's your next reel, Josh. Putting your vegetable oil on it.
He puts that shit on everything.
Yeah. Oh, so do you have all your salt bought and everything ready for this year?
Nope.
Nope. Uh-oh.
Still negotiating the price of salt bin blocks. So not too worried about that. That can kind of fly out October or so. But I have where I'm buying the bulk salt from this year. I have it all lined up and costs. But I don't have it on site yet. No, we still got it at the home base. I still have mulch I'm getting rid of. And then, I'm trying to negotiate the bin blocks. Because guys want between 75 and 90 per block not delivered. And I'm fucking cheap when it comes to that shit, man. I want them for like $30 used, so I can send a low boy out there and have them picked up. And I still have to move a load to the site and get everything to unload them and stage them and everything.
Right. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I'll tell you that much. Definitely. Well, good luck on getting them. But anything else before we finish out the night, guys?
No, I just want to shout out to the people that have been on the chat and stuff like that, man, because I know we've been usually doing our podcasts in the mornings and we switched it up on them. So if you've been listening in the morning time and now listening to us in the evening, thank you for your support.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had a lot of people over on Instagram, a lot of people on YouTube today. Thank you guys all for listening to us and jumping on and just throwing your questions out there and throwing us your opinions on stuff. I mean, it's awesome to have some people comment on some stuff and let us know what they think about certain things. So
Yeah,
definitely keep coming.
put some comments and subjects that you want us to talk about for future podcasts too.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about anything. I know there's a guy that commented just a couple minutes ago on YouTube about wood fencing. I know I do wood fencing. Josh and JC, I don't know if they do any fencing. Josh is shaking his head. He doesn't want to touch fencing. He does only steel fencing. But yeah, I think we all do different things. So
Josh does Olympic fencing, with the mask
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
yeah, he's into that.
Yeah.
But thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. And come on back next Sunday. We'll be back next Sunday. Thank you guys, and thank Cujo for sponsoring the show. And remember to listen to us all on every platform you can, and watch us on Landscapes by Acme YouTube. So that's all I got.